Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone. I want us to start now. So I'm asking if you can still please sit down. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for joining our side event on the Sustainable Livestock Journey. My name is Cynthia Mugo. I work with the International Livestock Research Institute, and I will be your moderator for today. I want to thank you all for attending. And really just to welcome you to our side event that will explore what livestock actors are doing or how they're engaging with food systems transformation. So in the next 90 minutes, in the next 60 minutes, actually, it's just 60 minutes. I wish it was 90. We will explore what different actors are doing in the food system space. Our session will begin with some opening remarks, followed by a high-level keynote speech. And then we'll have some case presentations that will exemplify the practical applications of sustainable livestock solutions in food systems. We will then have a commentary and then open for some feedback, question and answer session, and then some concluding remarks. It's a very short session, so I'm asking everyone to keep it short so that we can hear from this live audience that we have here. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our first speaker. I am really quite honored to invite Ambassador Mario Aviello. He's the chair of the steering committee of the UN Decade of Family Farming, and he will open our session by shedding light of the importance of this discussion today and how it links to the family farming agenda. Ambassador Aviello, welcome.
Thank you very much. I am really confused because when you mentioned about the timing, I thought that you were giving me 2 hours, but I guess I will have to do with 4 to 5 minutes. Thank you for being here. This is a discussion that we must have, and that the fact that we're having it now doesn't mean that we can check that, because so many others need to know about these things. I am very proud and honored to be the chair of the steering committee of the UN Decade on Family Farming, which runs from 2019 to 2028. And the Secretariat was kind enough, these are great people, led by Guillermo Brady and Marcela Villarreal. They have a wonderful team based here at FAO. It is also comprised of technical experts from the IFAD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development. But this house is the place where they work from. And they have prepared a number of notes, and I will go very quickly because I want to make a point before I have to yield the floor. First thing is to establish that when we speak about family farmers, we're also speaking about individuals, women and men and their children who are working with livestock. So it's not just planting on the ground, it's also raising cattle and petit ruminant and others, and therefore contributing to food security and nutrition all over the world. The most important thing is, from where I come from and what I am telling you, is to have policy advice, because this is what FAO does. It is a knowledge organization, and it reunites all of the experts in all of the given fields that have to do. They bang their heads together and they provide policy advice for countries. And I invite you to visit the website for the Global Action Plan for the family farming, and the Global Action Plan in particular, because we have 7 pillars there. The most important one is pillar 1, but all are important, of course, like the SDGs. But the first one, like in the SDGs, eradicating poverty and then eradicating hunger and so on, is creating an environment where multi-stakeholder partnerships can come together, capacity building, improved and transparent governance, promoting laws and policies. And the successes are so many. Over 260 policies and regulations in support of family farming, including in the livestock sector, have been put together with the help from the decade, including in my own country, the Dominican Republic. About the challenges, very quickly, again, the Secretariat lists things that you have already heard time and again. Challenges have to do with access to productive and natural resources, services, extension services, information technologies and innovations, climate change, of course, the climate crisis that we are all living in, environmental degradation, and among the many others, infectious diseases. And there I want to bring this circle to conclusion because the purpose of this meeting is to raise awareness of the significance of policies and multi-stakeholder involvement. First. Second, to enable data and knowledge exchange to support countries in addressing the rising demand for animal-based food, and to promote a holistic approach that includes all relevant stakeholders, recognizing the interconnectedness of social, economic, and environmental considerations in livestock farming. And why do I single out the challenge of pathogens and the infectious diseases? Again, very quickly, if you think for a moment about current species in the world, if you do a quick Google search like I did for during my research for these words, you will see that some say that we have 3 million species, 8.7 very accurately. Others go to 100 million, others go to 1 trillion. Why is that number important? Those numbers is that paleontologists, the scientists that study previous life in the planet, studying the fossil record, they say that 99% of all species that have ever existed have gone extinct. So that's 999 in 1,000. So when we get all these numbers in our head, where is Mario going with this? It's because we as humans have only eliminated 2 life forms consciously. We have decided, let's eliminate certain life forms, certain pathogens. And the first one was smallpox, 1980. And that was done only because the US and the USSR came together, even though they were fighting the Cold War, and WHO, the World Health Organization, and we had Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus roaming the corridors. I saw him yesterday. Got together and eliminated smallpox. And then FAO led the elimination of rinderpest. That's cattle plague, which killed up to 90% of infected animals. So this is what FAO is for. This is why we're converging here at FAO today and every time they convene meetings such as these. Because bringing proved unable to eliminate hunger and malnutrition. So they have created international organizations such as this one. And we need to bring, as we are bringing, civil society, the private sector, academia, research institutions, other UN agencies, and all the stakeholders. Of course, consumers should be the most important, but in the end, it's difficult to bring all consumers together as we can bring governments and others together. So to conclude, I heard during the whole day yesterday and this morning that everyone speaking is talking about the need for more financial resources, money. It is not coming by. Political will, yes. But then there are the problems of how to actually convert policy advice into policy solutions within the countries. So I will leave it at that because I know that you're about to take the floor off from me. The point is, let's think about these things. Let's think about how we can all put pressure on our governments to get the fiscal space, to get the money coming in, and to get the policy advice that emanates from FAO and all of the other agencies to be written into concrete laws for application in the territories. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Abriello. You come at the right time before we go to Ambassador Czarniak, and especially because you're our chair for the subcommittee on livestock at COAG. And before I come to you, he said 2 very good points. Family farmers, they are the front line. They are the ones facing malnutrition and also the ones supposed to meet the demand of raising demand for livestock. Policies, over 260 of them, are they really being implemented? Multi-stakeholder engagement. So in your keynote that we are getting into, we're really eager to hear your perspective on how livestock is contributing to resilient and sustainable food systems What are your thoughts on this? And what are the challenges that we need to be addressing? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am delighted to participate in this extremely important side event on sustainable livestock. In this sense, as chair of the subcommittee of the FAO subcommittee on livestock, I do believe that the topic is transcendental to achieve SDG 2, since without animal farming, it is a chimera to promote the goal of global food security, in particular within developing countries. In parallel, from my perspective, it is critical to emphasize that this discussion is including the very protagonists of the sector, without whom any debate around sustainability is simply unimaginable. To be frank and to be politically correct, at the same time, it's so difficult. So, sorry, I will try to be very frank. In the first place, I would like to recall where we are and where we are now on this subject. 2 years ago, in the context of the Food Systems Summit, some groups, or even interest, tried to install a hostile global narrative on the sector, which was based on obscurantist beliefs and biased conceptions that had nothing to do with science. 2 years ago, an attempt was made to demonize the sector and blame it for all the deficiencies concerning food systems. 2 years ago, the message coming from the action tracks was that animal proteins should be replaced by alternative sources of food. All of us, we can remember that. And thank you all who was engaged in organizing this side event, because without this side event, livestock could have been invisibilized again in this stock-taking moment. Although many speakers from the Global South, but not only, mentioned the importance of livestock in the food systems. So, where we are now. The FAO subcommittee on livestock was created after more than 70 years, and this turning point allowed us to trigger critical discussions among member states, the World Organization for Animal Health, international platforms such as GASL and LEAP, the World Farmer Organizations, and mainly the producers around the world, among others. Topics such as animal well-being, antimicrobial resistance, alternative feed practices, peste de petit ruminant, and the integration of livestock and forestry approaches are being duly tackled to enhance animal production. In other words, by understanding that animal farming needs to be ameliorated in terms of trade-off, now livestock is identified as part of the solution to improve our food systems. I repeat it, livestock is part of the solution. Our activities to promote breaking silos within FAO, advocating for working together with forestry, trying to showcase that livestock and forestry are not antithetical. We have many successful stories about silvopastoralism around the world. 1 month ago, I visited Kenya and had meeting with the responsible of livestock in East Africa, and also with the African Union. And the next week, I'm going to Brazil and to Argentina to advocate for the same purpose. Dear moderator, and I finish with that. Equally important for the FAO publication on the contribution of terrestrial animal source food to healthy diets. The science-based assessment, among other messages, clearly underpin that meat, eggs, and milk, just to name a few products, provide a range of irreplaceable macro and micronutrients that are difficult to obtain from plant-based food. This is to say, to obtain healthy physical and cognitive development, infant, adolescents, and human in general require consuming animal proteins. This message is science, not narrative. Of course, there is much more to be done and discussed to enhance the sector. For that reason, next September, FAO will gather the first ever global conference on livestock. I'm sure that Tanawa Chensin will talk about that. This event will be a great opportunity to make countries and different stakeholders, including scientists, to come together and share experiences on how to reduce emissions, the relationship between livestock and land use, also herd management. Again, my point here is that the sector is indeed improving its efficiency, for instance, throughout the initiative Net Zero, and we all need to accompany this transformation according to a specific context and when required. I would like to end by insisting on the importance of livestock in achieving the 3 dimensions of sustainability, particularly in developing countries. Animal farming is a critical activity that boosts regional economies, creates employment, and fosters livelihood incomes. At the same time, in the case of nomadic pastoralists, livestock constitutes not only a way to provide food for local communities, but essentially represent the core of some cultures. In sum, livestock is a cross-cutting activity that not only is indispensable for global food security, but also locally for social inclusion and economic growth. I and the team of the Subcommittee on Livestock are eager to continue engaging in discussing how to improve the sector, and of course, count on me for keeping showcasing the extraordinary contribution of animal proteins to achieving SDG 2. Sorry for the noise.
Ambassador Cheniak, thank you for the inspiration. We've heard you. Livestock is part of the solution. It's a food system solution for family farmers, for women, for children. The sector is improving and critical to our economies. This is a proven scientific fact. Thank you. Now, let's transition to what is actually happening at the country level. And I have the honor to introduce to you Mr. Bernard Kimoro, who is the head of climate and livestock sustainability at the Ministry of Agriculture in Kenya, to really tell us what is happening in the country and how this out in the country. So Bernard, please shed to us some light on how the livestock sector is contributing to the development of sustainable and resilient food systems in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be in FAO Rome with the director and ambassador. I just remember a few weeks ago, I think we were together in Nairobi, and it was a pleasure. What I want to say is, for Kenya, livestock is critical for 3 aspects. One is socio-cultural. I think ambassador has already talked about that. Some of the communities that we have really value livestock for the fact that they are insurance for their livelihoods. They are also part of the biodiversity in those areas. So they are and is a sort of insurance for the farms in those particular areas. Secondly, in terms of livelihood, again, ambassador has talked about this. If you look at Kenya, for example, we are talking about a sector that has contributes to almost 12% of the GDP. Dairy alone, for example, contributes 3.5% of the GDP. So that really shows you the importance of livestock for us. If you look at the country in general, 80% is actually pastoral, yeah? And half of that 80% is arid, which means there is no crop which can grow there. The only sort of agricultural activity that can take place there is livestock based. So for us, it is very critical. Now, overall, in Kenya, 90% of the households have one form of livestock or another, all right? It is a resilience mechanism for us. It's very critical. If you go to a household and there is no chicken, for example, that is a poor household. That's how we measure poverty in our area. 95% of their assaults, as I've said, is purely livestock based. Their livelihoods, socio-cultural benefits are derived from livestock. So it's very important. So if you look at the manufacturing of livestock products or livestock and livestock products, we are looking at almost 12% of all manufactured goods coming from livestock. Again, that is very important. Now, as a country, Kenya has the 6th largest livestock herd in Africa, the 12th in the world. It has the 3rd largest dairy herd in Africa. And therefore, livestock is very important for us. Now, I want to talk about dairy. For us, dairy has been one of the most important livestock activity. The reason is we have 1.8 million households that are actually practicing small-scale family kind of farming, dairy practices, producing 5.6 billion liters every year, and earning livelihoods from that. Now, what we have done in Kenya for dairy is to ensure that these 1.8 million households actually are aggregated into farmer produce organizations, and through that they can then aggregate the milk, which is then chilled, taken through the processing, and then it finds its way to the consumers. So that if you look at it in terms of contribution to the food system, it is critical that we sustain the aspect of enhancing the aggregation, adding value through the chilling, and also taking it to the processors. And then we are giving a final product which is of high quality, which is safe to the public. So that is very important. So what we have done actually in the last 2 years, since the last summit, the government of Kenya has invested in 600 small and medium enterprises, where we have supplied milk cooling facilities. Now, the whole thing is once you aggregate, then it becomes a business hub. We have people who are bringing in the inputs, and that then goes on to improve the productivity. For us, the whole idea is how do we improve the productivity? Because at the end of the day, we may not be able to reduce what you call the absolute emissions from cattle, yeah? But how are we reducing the emission intensities? By increasing the production from this cattle that we have. So for us, that's what we've done for the last 2 years. And in the ASAL area, the productivity is quite low, obviously because of interacting factors. Climate change is one of them, which has reduced the feed. I think the aspect of diseases has been talked about. So it is an area that we need to invest in. So one of the things we have done is to invest in what we call the index-based livestock insurance. So what it does is to de-risk the activities that the farmers are doing by using satellite technology to be able to monitor the pasture, and that then we can be able to pay the premiums to assist the communities there, and that then sustains the production. We started with about 30,000 households. Now we are targeting to reach 300,000, which will cover 2.5 million tropical livestock units. That means a large animal. I think all this is being done under what we call the agricultural sector and transformation strategy, which is the anchor for us on the food systems. And we feel by improving productivity, ensuring that the supply chains are efficient through aggregation, and in connecting across all the actors within the value chain, that is very critical for us. And what we have not forgotten is the inclusion part of it. As we do the aggregation, we are making sure that we're actually including women and youth in all the activities that we are implementing. All projects we have now are talking about 30% women and youth involvement as part of the inclusion in the food systems. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard. And it's good to hear that livestock systems are linked to food systems in general, nutrition, trade, livelihoods. And there is also a lot of work to be done. Productivity is still low. We know from the SOFI report that was just released, malnutrition is still high. hunger, accessibility of animal source foods is very low still in a country like Kenya. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and as Person Avrelo said, we need a lot of investments to increase productivity and also availability. You brought about the issue of youth, and I want to turn over to our next speaker, and I'm very pleased to welcome Ms. Josiane Irakarama. She's representing the collective voice of farmers and youth. As a young farmer and an esteemed member of the World Farmers Organization, Josiane, I'd really like you to share with us how the younger generation are getting involved in livestock and food systems transformation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, moderator. I am Josiane Irakarama from Ingabo Syndicate.
To the microphone.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe it's not working. Maybe you could.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Let's go close to the microphone.
Okay, yes. I'm Josiane Irakarama from Rwanda in Ingabo Farmers Syndicate, which is a member of the World Farmers Organization. And it's a pleasure to be here today representing the youth in agriculture, especially in livestock farming. I'm going to present a little bit a case study from one of my colleagues from Rwanda. His name is Gilbert Nyodusenga, and he's the president of Ingabo Syndicate's Young Farmers Forum. And Gilbert has a pig farm that he started when he was still a student in 2008. He was doing his bachelor's degree in Rwanda. And the reason why I resonate with this story so much is because this is just one of the very many stories across my country where the youth are taking initiatives to be part of the livestock, but also the farming industry, which is really not an easy thing to do for the youth, because I don't know how many of you knows about Rwanda, but we are a very small country with a growing population, and we have land problems, land issues. There's small land, and the population is growing bigger every day. So livestock is an opportunity for the youth to create their own jobs, to invest in the farming industry, but also to boost the sustainable food systems. This is our way of contributing to the sustainability of the food systems, because with livestock farming, we increase the we contribute to the nutrition by providing a balanced diet. We improve the economies of our countries, and we can be able to give back to our local communities. Example of my friend Gilbert, he has already now in 5 years given jobs to 6 people from his home community. Now imagine if we were able to empower the youth to do the same, like everywhere in the community, start with the small initiatives in our local communities and improve and empower the youth, not only the male, but also the female youth in agriculture. Like what can we achieve with that? So we need more empowerment. Like we need to bring the voice of the farmers at the table, and we need to make sure that our local mechanisms of doing the farming, either livestock farming or any kind of farming, are empowered, because we have our solutions in our local communities, but they are not given as much value, as much attention as the big projects on the global arena. Thank you.
A special and warm thank you Josiane, it's not easy being a young person in such an intimidating table, I can imagine, and a farmer with this on this table as well. So thank you very much. We heard the message: involve the youth, empower the youth. We've heard you, and create more jobs. So I want to turn over to our host, FAO. You've listened to the presentations, and we are really fortunate to be hearing from you, Dr. Tanawa Tinchin, Director, Animal Production and Health Division, FAO. You're to provide us with the final commentary. And listening after what you've heard, knowing that we are coming next, I think in another 2 months, we'll be at your forum on sustainable livestock. You'll be hosting us. And then after that, we'll probably go to CFS and we'll be hosted there again to talk about food systems again. And then after that, we go to COP20 in Dubai. How are we engaging? How should we show up in this forum as advocates of livestock, sustainable livestock? And also, really, what's the one message you would give to this who are really passionate about sustainable livestock feeding into food systems? Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator, and also the distinguished speakers. Thank you for joining Sustainable Livestock Journey today. Our journeys did not start today, but it back over the past years that livestock farmers, producers really changed the way of your producing to ensure that we increase food securities, nutritional securities, to make sure that our infants, children, ourselves, and our elderly people have a nutritious food. As you know that animal source food, eggs, milk, meat is one of the high qualities animal proteins, micronutrients for health of people. But over the past decades, livestock and animal source food has been criticized as ambassadors of Argentina, my dear colleagues and friends, because before I became, today is 10 months and 25 days in my position as the directors. Before, my dear ambassadors of the Dominican Republic, which actually my predecessors as a chair of CFS. We know that at FAO, we didn't talk much. Today, we start our sustainable livestock journey together. We bring the issues of livestock to discuss here and everywhere. It just last week, I just came back from India. We also went to India at G20 to discuss at the International Symposium on Sustainable Livestock Transformation. Because we know that livestock and animal source food is a part of food systems, is a part of agri-food system. But we need to learn from our past experience what we did wrong and what we can do better in the futures. Because by 2050, we know that we need to feed 10 billion people. And those 10 billion people that we're going to feed need animal source food, egg, milk, and meat for their nutritional securities and food securities. And we know that by the FAO projections, by 2050, around 20% that we need to produce more for animal source food. But how are we going to produce more with less impact is the issues. And also when you're talking about sustainability, as my colleagues already mentioned earlier, we always see three circles of social, environment, and economic. But we know that the sustainability, the definition in each country and each region is different. Some countries need more to feed their people. Some countries need more in terms of economic growth to make sure that people can have better income from livestock, as my dear young colleagues from Rwanda mentions, or even though my colleagues from Kenya mentions. And that's why when we're talking about sustainable livestock transformation, we need to make sure that we balance all the issues. And that's why the early of this year at FAO, we're discussing about sustainable livestock transformation initiative. How we're going to build the global balance and positive narrative of sustainable livestock, animal source food. How we're going to strengthen the sustainable pathway for each sectors: milk, egg, meat, dairy, beef, small-scale farmers, and pastoralisms. To make sure that we know that each country, each sectors bring solution. And we had just have heard that. We have solution from our colleague from Kenya, our colleague from Rwanda, or even though when I visited India have all solution already. I visited women biogas cooperative. Now all the cow manure go to biogas, biodigester. Now animal feeding management is improving in India. I see my colleague from South Asia. We know that livestock sectors and people in the sectors are moving forward to sustainability, to feed people, to increase economic, inclusive economic growth, and also in terms of economic, environmental impact as well, that we are well aware. And that's why on 25th to 27th of September this year, is the first time ever that FAO, together member state and all livestock stakeholders, will come here again at the Global Conference on Sustainable Livestock Transformation. Livestock sectors, people in the sectors need to stand up. Could you please stand up, please? With me. For a while. Because over the past decade, we are too shy to talk what we make contribution to healthy people and healthy planet. Please sit down. Sorry to keep you stand up a bit, to stretch your leg. Yep. Because we are too shy to talk what we make contribution to for healthy people and healthy planet. But on 25th to 27th September, we will stand up to tell what we make contribution and what solution that we can offer to this planet. But we cannot do just only single events of Sustainable Livestock Transformation Global Conference. But we need the decade of actions. We need to continue for the decade to highlight to policymakers, like our ambassadors, consumers, and general public, to say that livestock sectors by 2030, we reduce whatever we want to reduce, and we increase what we have to increase to improve better livelihood, better income for young generation, better future for young generation. And that's why during that week, not only our talk, but we will have the first time as well, the Global Youth Dialogue for Sustainable Livestock Transformation. Now my colleagues, Badi already reported me. At the beginning, we plan to have just only 500 participants to join the global conference and youth dialogue. But now we have to change our plan to receive around 1,000. Because now, I have to say that we have met so many countries and many sectors that want to come, and the doors open. We need to think together. We need to work together for better futures of food system and sustainable livestock transformation.
Thank you.
We need your support. We need your action. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
you. We can hear the passion. We are sold here in there. We are sold. I want to we have some time, and I really wanted us to get into some commentary and some engagement with the audience. But first, I want to give a chance to the president of the International Dairy Federation, Mr. Pierre Cristiano Brazil, to really just give us a commentary to this panel as we open it up as well. If you have any questions, comments, keep it short so that we can also open it up for everyone else. Thank you.
I was just invited by my friend Tanovat and Cherniak. So, no, I want to underline that the role of animal protein in balanced diets absolutely is really essential. But I would like to underline also some topics that are for me is very, very important about the sustainability of our sector. It's very important to consider the three dimensions and consider also in the developing countries that sustainability is very important in socio-economical terms for improving livelihoods and so on. But I would like to answer to say some words about the narrative against the livestock sector, agriculture sector, because sometimes we have some data that sometimes seems science-based but are not correct. And that show that, for example, we use 70% of fresh water, something like we emit 24% of greenhouse gases. We use 30%, around 30% of land area, and we use around 30% of global energy. But remember, we produce 100% of the food. We need to remember always to the people that is against us. But it's very important livestock contribution to healthy people and planet in terms, for example, livelihood, pastoral system, biodiversity, integrating livestock system like silvopasture and so on. But the most important thing is to remember that our emissions are biogenic. Remember always that, because we are under attack about emission of CO2 and methane, but are part of a cycle. We renovate the resources. We are not using resources, but we are renovating resources. Remember always that.
Thank you very much.